pay for it all? Because the government isn't going to pay for it all. The government doesn't really have any money other than what it takes out of your pocket or borrows from the Federal Reserve, which ultimately you have to pay that back as well. So if the pharmaceutical industry is expecting to make more profits under the health plan, it means you're going to get soaked for it. Now, interestingly enough, we're looking at Senate Finance Committee Chairman Max Baucus. He's writing this health care reform plan. And it is being described as by an insider as an absolute gift to the healthcare insurance companies. And that should hardly come as a surprise, because Max Baucus is one of the largest recipients of campaign donations from the pharmaceutical and healthcare industries. He is bought. He is writing a bill for the benefit of his campaign donors, not for the benefit of you. It's another sellout. My wife came up with this wonderful term. You know, we call the reporters of the mainstream corporate media prostitutes. Well, we're going to start calling our members of Congress corporatutes, because they are constantly selling themselves, and actually you, to the corporations. So we're going to call them corporatutes. Max Baucus is one of them. We know that Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House, backed off of the public insurance option as soon as she was. And 2 hours later, it was announced that the chief lobbyist for one of the big private for-profit insurance companies is throwing fundraising gatherings for her to raise money for her next election. Olympia Snowe up in Maine backed off the public insurance option. She's now getting additional campaign donations from these industries. It is a sellout. It's an absolute sellout. None of these people in Washington, D.C. are looking out for you. The protesters on the streets of Washington, D.C. last Saturday, they're looking out for you. They're the only ones in that city who are looking out for your interests and your good. And that's why we need to support them. We need to applaud them. We need to understand why the presence of that many people on the streets of Washington, D.C. struck such fear and terror into the hearts of the government. They know they are losing control of the American people. They have lost the ability to lie to the American people and have it believed. And without that ability to propagandize and lie to the American people, they can't control us anymore. We're breaking free. The revolution is already underway. Thank goodness it is a bloodless one. Let us work to keep it that way. We're going to go to the phones. Scott in Wisconsin. Aloha, Scott. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Michael, I got to say I love you, brother.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? The truth is starting to come out. And, you know, our government is built on sand, and it's washing away. I want to make a challenge to all the Americans. And I did this, Michael, and I want to share it with you. When they went to the new converter boxes, I have not watched TV anymore in my house. And I can't tell you how much I am relieved, because all TV is now is Satan vision. I challenge all the Americans to sell their TV and get a computer and turn it on to Michael Rivero, Alex Jones, and get this thing spreading even more. Because I'm so thankful, Michael, that I'm going to give you encouragement.
Thank you.
I'm so thankful that I can call in and talk to people that are awake, that communicate. You cannot do that with our corrupt government. You call in there, you're talking like to a Satan robot. And you're right. I hope Ron Paul's bill keeps crawling along, because we, the people, like you said in the past, have not created this debt. It's our fascism, lying, deceiving, and you got to call them Satan government.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to come in and give you praise. Keep marching along there, brother. Alex Jones, all the Genesis communication, how much you guys have been waking up these people. And you're right. That was a big wake-up call with all those Americans marching in the streets of Washington. And you know what? They went peaceful. And if the government doesn't wake up with that, what are they going to do next time? And I'm not challenging anybody to take a gun. But what would down the road if everybody shows up with a weapon? How are they going to handle that? God bless you, and I
agree with you. Well, thank you very much, and thank you for the phone call. And yeah, I think it definitely sent a message because, they're trying to downplay the numbers and they're trying to say, oh, they're all racist and all the rest of this stuff. It is almost, if you step back and look at it objectively, you can sense the sheer panic just by the tactics they're using. I mean, they're calling all those people, well, they're just racist. That's the only reason they don't like the president's policies. No, we didn't like the same policies when it was the white guy in the Oval Office. I mean, it's nonsense. And like I said, I used to have respect for Jimmy Carter. He was the only living president I had any respect for. That is gone, evaporated with this one numb, lame comment that opposition to Obama is based in racism. And I got a lot of emails from people when I commented on it. They said, there's racism in the country. I said, yeah, there's racism. But that's got nothing to do with it. This is about policy. The propagandists are trying to smear people standing up for their rights in the hopes that I don't want to be confused as a racist, so I'm just going to shut up and let them tax me into poverty and send my children off to die for wars in Israel. Not going to work. It's not going to work. We have seen that before. It's an old trick. It is simply not going to work. All right, moving right along here. We were talking about all right, we're at the end of the segment here. We're going to take a break, have some commercials. We'll be back for the last segment of our show today after these words from our sponsors.
Are you tired of searching for great talk radio? Search no more. We are the GCN Radio Network.
When all this twisted steel was swept away, did these remaining holes reveal what's really happening?
And aloha, America. Welcome back to the show here. And there's a caller on the line. Before I get to him, though, I do want to go back to something I said in the first segment. Our government is in a hideous state. They are broke. They're in debt. They can't tax any more money from the people because we, the people, just don't have it. And, people are just giving up. They don't even want to try and work and pay their bills because it's so overwhelming right now. I mean, the government has added $500,000 in tax debt onto every single American over the last year. Money that we and our children are going to have to work to pay to the government, for which we will receive absolutely no benefits whatsoever. That's very discouraging and dispiriting and disheartening, and I think that is a big part of the anger that fueled last Saturday's march. And the government's going to pretend it didn't happen, of course, as they were doing all during the Bush administration. But there's no question that the anger is out there and the anger is building. And there's no turning back. We've crossed a threshold. We're not going back anytime soon. Now, interesting story came out today. As you know, they're trying to sell a war in Iran as hard as they can. Israel and the United States are now coming out and screaming that the International Atomic Energy Agency are anti-Semites and they're helping Iran conceal their nuclear weapons program. Israel responded to the United Nations reports about the war crimes during Operation Cast Lead by saying they're all a bunch of anti-Semites. I mean, this is how ridiculous the propaganda is getting out there. So now today, because they can't sell this idea that Iran has a nuclear bomb, or even if they did, why they would be so stupid as to attack the United States of America. And so now they're coming out and saying there's a bipartisan congressional panel saying that we have to have tougher sanctions and military action and a military strike. And what is going on here? This is another little swindle. They don't have a reason to attack Iran that makes any sense to the American people. We're attacking Iran because Israel said to. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to create this illusion that if both parties support the war in Iran, and they both do because they're both on the take from Israel, that if it's a bipartisan panel and both parts of Congress are saying we should do this, that the American people will say, well, those guys are so much smarter than we are, and they are all in agreement we need to go kill Iranians, so by golly, gee, shuckies, we should just go kill Iranians. Except, of course, it doesn't work that way anymore. Because we, the American people, because we heard the same song and dance in the run-up to the war in Iraq, which is not going too well, we've heard it all before. And we know it's a lie. And we still know it's a lie. And in a way, it's almost insulting that the U.S. government, somebody somewhere in planning all of this stuff inside the U.S. government, really thinks the American people are so stupid that we're going to fall for the same trick twice in a row. And by the way, there were a lot of people who didn't fall for it the first time around, and I raise my hand here. But anybody who thinks a significant part of the American people are going to fall for it a second time is just dreaming. I have no doubt the corporate media will say, yes, most Americans support attacking Iran, and most Americans support protecting Israel against anybody that they don't like, and so forth and so on. But they're just trying to sell it. Now, one more thing, and then I'm going to go to the phones here. This story came out through the press today. Some 1,000 U.S. European Command troops will soon deploy to Israel for a large-scale missile defense exercise with Israeli forces. Large-scale missile defense exercise. Okay, here's a clue. Doesn't take 1,000 U.S. soldiers to fire off a test missile. Or even 2, or even 3, or even 10. Takes a trailer full of guys, maybe 20, at most. If they're sending 1,000 U.S. troops to Israel, it's because